Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
All right, welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. While you're here, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with the Atlanta Braves. And we have a special guest here today. It's Connor Norton. And Connor's got an interesting story we're going to tell. But first off, Connor, if you could just introduce yourself to my viewers and, of course, Braves country.
Yeah, Tyler, it's a pleasure to be on. I'm Connor Norton, as you said. Grew up actually in Birmingham, Alabama, live in Atlanta now. I've been here almost 4 years. And the past week was kind of an awesome experience to go to a lot of games. And then all of a sudden, as many people have seen, found myself in the VIP Family World Series party after the game. So I guess that's the story, that I'm here for. You don't want to just hear about me going to Braves games, but glad to be on. Grew up big baseball guy my whole life. My dad actually played at Alabama, so it was kind of in my blood from when I was a kid. Baseball was always my sport. Obviously love college football and things like that in the South as well. But baseball is one of those that I can just go to by myself and just sit out there if no one else wants to go. So.
Well, you proved that. You went to all 6 World Series games. Before we get into that, did you go to any other postseason games prior to that?
Yeah, I went when they closed it out versus Milwaukee.
Okay.
That was an awesome. Honestly, before the World Series, I was like, that's the best baseball game I've been to. Just the environment and Freddie hitting a home run, and he was so pumped. And then obviously was following the other games, but yeah. So I went to that game, and then the World Series was kind of my epic journey. So
all right, yeah. So you spent 8 days going to 6 of these games, and for me personally, it was so hard just to go to one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just to get to one. So you got to walk me through, man. How in the world did you get to go to all 6?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. A lot of people have asked it. I was actually sitting right here at my house on Tuesday, about midday, and I just started texting some people. I'm in like a fantasy baseball group message that it's a bunch of guys actually older than me, so they can't as easily just like go hop on a plane because they have families and stuff. So I was like, hey, I'm thinking about it. I might try to go to Houston because it's cheaper to go out there. And at this point,
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just go to one game and say I went to a World Series and get to see the Braves. So I started checking tickets. One of them, as I put it on Reddit, one of them dropped to like $175, and it was right behind home plate. And I was like, I grabbed it without having a flight or anything because I was like, this is once in a lifetime. And then as the story goes, ends up the guy sends me a parking pass instead of a ticket, and I about puked my guts out. As shocking as it sounds, Ticketmaster actually reached out and like helped fulfill a ticket for me at the same price. So I got in after fees to game one for like $220. And I'm fortunate with my job to have Delta points, Marriott points, stuff like that. So all I had to do was like pay for tickets and then the food while I was there. But man's got to eat no matter where he is. So I didn't really factor in the food costs or whatever. The ticket was basically the only prices I had to worry about. So I went out there thinking, I'll go to one World Series game and that'll be awesome. The experience of a lifetime to say I went to a World Series game. And then, you know how it is. You get the itch once you get that drip, and stayed out there for game 2. That one wasn't as fun, obviously. And then even game 3 was last minute. I decided to go. I actually shelled out a little bit for that one, but I was able to take a good friend and mentor who, works in my church, and he wasn't going to pull the trigger on a ticket, so I rounded up some of his buddies to help chip in for his ticket, and it was a great experience. And I was like, okay, I went to the first 3 World Series games. This is something I can tell people for a long time. Great time, so fun. That Friday night game was awesome with, Anderson going no hitter through 5. Like, it's a great time. But I was hosting a party the next night. So I was like, hey, I did it. First 3, great experience. And that's why I kind of shelled out a lot for Friday too, because I was like, that's it. Like, I'm hosting a party tomorrow. So I know like my experience is complete unless someone like gives me a ticket later.
Yeah.
And then a buddy reached out the next morning back from Birmingham, and he had a Delta Club ticket, which if anybody knows the Braves Park, Truist Park, it's Delta Club. You don't turn it down.
No, you don't. Never.
Yeah, and so he reached out and said he wasn't able to go, and he had a semi-expensive ticket, but it was like $600, which granted, for any other day I wouldn't do it, but for the World Series, that was like pennies on the dollar for a Delta ticket. I mean, that was cheaper than any other ticket in the house.
Yeah, for
And I
sure,
was,
for
yeah,
sure.
and it was Delta Club. And I sent it to that same baseball thread, and I was like, but I'm hosting a party. I mean, they just lit me up. They're like, you have to go. And then like the guy that went with me Friday night, he calls and he's like, hey, I'll help run your party at your house. You're going to the game. So
Hey, those are good friends, man. You got some good
exactly.
friends.
Exactly. So I think that was like the flip of the switch of like, okay, I'm just gonna go see it out at this point. Because the first four was really day of decisions. Because I flew out, to Houston thinking I was only going Tuesday, got the itch, stayed, moved flights around, all that. And then Friday night, it was literally 6:30. I was like, hey man, we're going. Come pick me up. And then Saturday, yeah, it was day of, and I felt bad because I was like hosting a party, but I like got clearance from people. They're like, yeah, you should do it. I was like, all right, I'm going. Um, did
All
that,
right.
yeah. Sorry, I don't mean, yeah.
Oh, you're good. You're
These are the
good.
questions. Yeah, go ahead.
So the Braves obviously win the World Series, and that we'll get
Yeah,
to that in a second. We'll talk about just how much that means to
yeah,
Braves country in a minute. But man, the experience afterward is
yeah,
really where you come in, I think, because
yeah, sure.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I always appreciate, when people get to get a little extra access, whether it be
Yeah,
autographs, whatever the situation is. I always appreciate that. I think that's
yeah,
cool. I think you've taken it to such a level that no one is ever going to top it. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know how that would even happen. So,
yeah, yeah.
so, so just walk me through how that happens
Yeah, so
and take it from
I
there.
make it back out to Houston for game 6, and I found out where the team was staying. So I was like, I'll go by the hotel at least, see if they're like having a drink. And I don't know how teams celebrate the World Series at the hotel. Like it's just first time since I was a 5-year-old. So I saw. Long story short, was there hanging out, and then I saw like this roped off area, and I saw like Dansby and a few players go up it, and I was like, all right, that's where I got to get. I don't know what it is, but I know up there is like at least where the team is. And a guy was going in. It's just a random VIP to my knowledge. I don't think it was anyone. Like honestly, don't remember his name because I was so amped. But he was going through, and the guard like had opened up the roped off area, and he's letting a few people through with him. And I was like, hey man, I went to every game. Like I got to get in there. I was like, I went to all 6, and he just turned to the guard. He's like, hey, yeah, let him in. He's good. He's with me. And I'm walking up this staircase, like not knowing what I'm about to walk into, and it ends up being like the most epic World Series party with the team, and their families and like a few select others. Like I didn't know it at the time, like, and I'm sure a lot of Braves country will get on to me because they all love country music too. But like Jason Aldean was just like up there. I didn't know what he looked like, to be honest. Cole Swindell was like he got on stage and sang a song, so that's how I knew who he was because he was singing a song on stage. Like, um, but yeah, I walked in and I saw this family that I'd been talking to in the lobby that were friends with like Eddie Perez, and they're like, "How'd you get up here?" And I was like, "Honestly, just some guy like let me in," and they're like, "That's amazing." And the next thing I know, I'm cheersing Joc Pederson, and he looks at me and just like lights up, like I'm like his long lost friend, and drops his famous phrase on me. He's like, yo, what's up? Everybody filling the blank there. And honestly, the family thought I was sandbagging them. They thought I was someone important. So I think from there on I was good. Like everyone saw that interaction from me and Jock, and from then on out it was like, all right, I belong, let's go.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Jock strikes me as the life of the party,
Yeah, for
or as a
sure.
party walking. But let me ask
Yeah,
you this: what was your, other than outside of Jock, maybe
yeah,
what's one of your funniest interactions? Because there's got to be a story there. I mean, you got a
yeah,
room full of guys that are at the pinnacle of their career, and you're
yeah.
at the pinnacle of your
Of
fan life,
fandom,
right?
yeah, yeah, for sure. so
So,
i so i I'm trying to think. So I told like a few of the pitchers, I was like, hey, I'm just a fan. And like Matzek and Luke Jackson, they ate it up. They're like, that's awesome. Like, and Matzek and I went up and took a picture with the trophy. And he was like, dude, pick it up. Like, I was just like standing there, arms around it, like a buddy. And he's like, dude, pick up the trophy, man. And I thought that was pretty cool that he like, wanted me to pick up the trophy. Um, and then like Luke, I went up to him. I was like, honestly, I was like, I liked your interview after LA. And his uncle was like, dude, when he said they're his daddy, I'm like, yeah, but like he was so transparent and like just being real, you know. So that was fun, just like interacting, talking with them. The bullpen coach actually was a GA at Alabama when I was at school at Alabama.
Cool.
Um, and I had some mutual friends. He didn't know me, but I explained to him like, hey, my buddy was a manager. He's, oh yeah, I know Brant, yada yada yada. And then the shortstop on that team played for the Red Sox for a bit. I know him, Josh Rutledge. So I like made that connection. And he was like, dude, go up to Mentor and talk crap. And I'm like, yeah, but A&M beat us this year. Like, so I go up to Mentor. I'm like, Frenchie told me to talk crap to you because I went to Alabama, but I got nothing, man. You beat us this year. So Mentor kind of rode me on that a little bit. But honestly, like a lot of it was just like floating around. Like I didn't want to like, they're all hanging out with their families. I don't want to like interrupt all their time with their friends and family. But it was more just cool, like that they were all like nice about it. And, I didn't have like long conversations with any specific other than a few of the pitchers, like I mentioned. But yeah, it was just fun. Like they were just all really kind. Like yeah, I went over to a lot of the guys from the Caribbean were over in the corner, like hanging out and like Pache like rounded up like Acuña and Herrera to get a picture with me, which I thought was really nice. That like because I was like, oh, I want to get they had all just taking a picture. I was like, I want a picture, and he like brought him back in. So that was really nice of him. Talking to like Ben Ingram was cool, and like the radio crew, they were like, he was like, yeah, man, I'm just a fan too. Like enjoy it. Like this is great. Like everyone was just happy. Everyone's having a fun time. So to be able to like join in on the fun and not get like scolded for being there was honestly the most fun part, I guess. And Joc had a memorable line that everyone's been like going crazy over Reddit, and that I went up to grab a refill of wine, and the bottle was just sitting there, and the bartender was busy, and I reached for the bottle of wine, and I looked back, and Joc's standing there, and he's like, "Dude, just do it. They're not going to do shit." And I was like, that was the line I think that like most of the internet has loved because it like personifies Joc
Yeah.
in a quote. So yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, honestly, yeah, it was just kind of floating around, talking to a little bit of everybody. I mean, it was cool, like sitting there talking to Freed or like Ben Ingram was. I was hanging out with those guys, and they were talking to Freed, and Freed was talking about, when he got stepped on, and he was like, is very fortunate that it was rubber cleats and not spikes, and like just being able to hear those conversations from the guy who just like pitched a gym in the World Series. And I'm a kid who was a left-handed pitcher in high school, like so I always got a spot for the lefty pitchers. And the fact that he absolutely dominated in that game was like cool to be standing right there. And like I took a picture of him with his family for him, and then he turned around and like motioned for me to get a picture with him. So it was just cool that like they're all so kind to a guy. I mean, who knows? At that point, they might have thought I was someone's family member, like, but they were still kind to, take a picture with me and whatnot. So
I got to tell you, I don't know if this would happen in any other organization. It's probably a once in a lifetime thing for anybody, obviously, but I mean, it's just such a crazy story, like that the access that most people have is so limited. They stay in their seat. They don't really get to, talk to folks. And I'll be honest with you. I've talked to a lot of folks about interesting moments in their career, talked to Andrew Jones about some of the catches he made, that kind of thing. But I've never been able to talk to one of these players after winning the World Series or even a big moment in their career. That's got to be awesome, man.
Yeah. I mean, just to be in that room hours after they won it with the trophy too, the commissioner's trophy, like it was pretty incredible experience to just like soak it in and just enjoy watching the room, seeing everybody happy. Like everyone's like, where's your picture with Freddie? But like Freddie had his son, had Charlie with him. I'm like, I'm not going to like wear out a guy who's like got his son sleeping on his shoulder. Like, yeah, he's a great player and like everybody loves him, but it's not worth like I let him have his moment with his family. The other guys were kind of mingling, so I was like, I'll go mingle with the lads, So I actually hit it off like Luke Jackson's brother and we like left at the same time, and I was talking to him, and he got my number, and then like Friday during the parade, I get this text from a random number, and it's like from the bus. And it's like looking at the players and it's like sending love from the lads. And I was like, who is this? Like, is this Luke's brother? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, dude, did they see my Reddit post? And he's like, yeah, they were just talking about it. I was like, to me, that was the peak, that these guys are reading my Reddit post about like hanging out with them and they're not mad, So it was just awesome experience all around. I mean, there were no like deep conversations because the guys just won the World Series and everyone's, having a good time. But it was just like friendly conversations and stuff like that. So
Well, obviously it was a great experience. Let me ask you a little bit of a deeper question.
yeah,
You said you were 5 years old in '95.
yeah,
How much does, I mean, obviously this is in a lot of ways a miracle season, right?
yeah,
You know, an unexpected result,
yeah, for sure.
positive but unexpected. How much
Yeah.
does this season and this championship mean to you as a fan?
Yeah, I mean, so I moved to Atlanta almost 4 years ago, and that year I went to like 40 home games. I think I could walk to the stadium, so it was awesome. Honestly, this year was tough for like, to be honest, with like Valley Sports and stuff. I'm like, where can I find the Braves on TV? Like, it was so hard, like with like YouTube TV and stuff, to like watch most of the games. So it was a lot of like this year was a lot of tracking on my phone and like and honestly, I was like thought we were done for when we lost to Cunha, like probably anyone else, and we already weren't doing that hot, at that point in the year. Um, so I think when they got hot towards the end, it was like, man, these guys are like, they're coming on, And then I actually went to a series in New York. I was in New York for work. And I went to the doubleheader, and that's kind of when it flipped because New York had about a 5 game lead then. And that's like when we went out and got Joc and all those guys. And then it kind of flipped from there. And it's like we took the lead and everyone's just bracing, like when is this thing going to collapse? But it never collapsed, and then to run away with it in the playoffs was, yeah, it was awesome. I think it was cool. And I'm sure the team would agree to like beat the Dodgers, like, after what's happened in the past year and whatnot. So for me as a fan, yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I'm spoiled. I had this on another podcast. Like I went to the University of Alabama. So like I'm spoiled in that we won a lot in football, but baseball, yeah, it's awesome to like see your team win the World Series 26 years after the last time, and to see those guys who are just neat dudes from talking to them. But even when you just watch them on TV, you can tell it's just like a tight knit group. And it wasn't like we went out and like bought everybody like these, the Yankees, Dodgers, teams like that. It was like, no, these guys just like got hot and we made some good moves that made it a miracle season to your point. And everyone dogs the NL East because we won 88 games and we're in first. And other Dodgers have like 105 and they're the wild card. But it was special, I think, to dominate them, and to win the whole thing. Yeah, it was awesome.
I'll tell you this. I was at two of the Dodgers games. I was at game
Yeah,
one for the walk-off and game six when they clinched it. And I'll be honest with you, once they beat the Dodgers, I didn't say this publicly because I didn't want to be the jinx. But
yeah,
once they beat the Dodgers, I was pretty confident, walking
yeah.
into the World Series. How did you feel about it? I mean, you were there, you're there for a lot of them. So I
Yeah, I think
assume.
when Soler hit that bomb in the first in Houston, it was like, all right, let's go. Like I thought we were gonna win in five, honestly. And then when we hit the grand slam, when the ball hit the grand slam, I was like, all right, I'm not going back to Houston. Like I thought, yeah, when we took game three, I was like, it's Braves in five, like because they just looked like they were on a mission, and Houston looked like they were on the defense. Like like Altuve and those guys, he had a big bomb in like game two, but outside of that, they didn't really hit the ball, like, and you could just tell they just seemed timid compared to our guys who were like, pushing. So yeah, I think honestly, yeah, being at all the games, you could see a difference in the two clubs. Like the Braves at that point, I mean, they were playing the best baseball in the MLB, for second half of the year, and it just continued into the postseason. I mean, you had a few guys have some slumps in the series, and earlier on, I think Freddie wasn't hitting too well. What in the Dodgers? I don't know. Someone, like there was fluctuations, but like Riley, he had a rough series there for a bit, and then he just came out on a man on a mission in the series. Had huge hits in the World Series, and obviously Soler was just moonshotting it. So I think the bats going the way they were, and then those pitchers were just as much crap as they've gotten the past 3 or 4 years. They really proved themselves. In the World Series by being pretty dominant. So,
Well, I'm going to ask you this. Next year, obviously we're coming off a World Series win, but
yeah,
I've said, numerous times that the Braves are set up for success for numerous years.
yeah,
Next year, you have the return of Ronald Acuña at some point. You have likely the return of Mike Soroka,
exactly.
maybe Marcelo Zuna plus others. There's others scattered out there.
Yeah,
What are your hopes for next year?
yeah. I mean, it's 162, so it's a game at a time. But yeah, I agree. I mean, that roster's young with Acuna and Albies locked up for what the next like 8 years.
10 years, yeah.
and the pitching's. I mean, yeah, you said it. They have the guys there, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Freddie. And as expensive as he'll be, like I know they got to weigh all those options. Obviously, he's the clubhouse leader. You can tell. I mean, even being at the party, you could tell. But yeah, I mean, I think they're set up to have success, and I think they obviously all have confidence now that's probably been lacking in the past, and they see that they can do it. I mean, you can't say you expect a repeat, right? It doesn't happen much in baseball, but that would be fun if it did, right? I think you got to enjoy this one for now, and baseball is a funny sport, and like the Braves got hot late and took it away, and but they definitely have the talent to continue to be a dominant force. I mean, you think about our childhood, we ran the table on the division for what, 15 straight years. So that'd be cool to continue. See, I mean, every year I've lived in Atlanta, they've won the division so far. So at least a division win, right? And then I think though, yeah, I mean, it's always gonna be tough with Dodgers, and the Padres looked like they were gonna be really good, halfway through the year. So those West Coast teams are gonna be good because they're shelling out the money, but who knows? I mean, might as well keep winning them and making the Phillies look bad after they spend all their money.
For sure. Well, I'm going to wrap it up with that, Connor. I appreciate your time. Tell everybody where they can follow you.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, CK Norton1, CK Norton, like the antivirus, and then the number 1. And then a lot of people see me on Facebook, just Connor Norton. It's CONNER Norton. So a lot of random people have added me. I tell them I'm just a guy. Like they're like sending me messages, and I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm just a fan like the rest of you. I'm not anything special, but I love to come on and like talk to people like you, Tyler, and like because I'm just a person. So like, why am I going to prioritize like some interview with whoever over like a guy that's doing the local stuff? So that's great.
Well, Connor, man, I appreciate it. We're going to wrap it up, man. Go Braves, chop on, all that good stuff, man.
For sure, man. Enjoyed it.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.